I want to tell you something that is going to sound strange at first, and then, by the end of this video, is going to feel obvious. You have been looking at a city your whole life and never knew it. When you look at a coral reef, you see what everyone sees: pretty fish, colorful coral, a nice underwater scene, decoration, scenery, a backdrop. And that is exactly the mistake I want to take apart, piece by piece, over the next 2 hours. Because a reef is not scenery. A reef is a city. A functioning civilization hidden under the waves that has been running for millions of years, completely indifferent to the fact that we never noticed it was a society at all. And like any city, it has jobs, it has roles, it has citizens, and every one of them is doing something. There is a construction crew chewing down the city walls and accidentally paving the beaches. There is a sewer system that crawls along the floor and, when threatened, throws its own organs at you. There is public transport gliding on wings. There are street thugs working the alleys, an old boss sitting in a dark doorway, a burglar slipping through the back door, a silver patrol flashing down the open lanes, and a giant living in the black underground beneath the streets, mapping the dark with sound. 15 citizens, 15 roles, one hidden civilization. And here is the thing I love most about this. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. By the end of this video, you are never going to look at a reef the same way again. The pretty fish becomes a worker. The flower becomes an armed building. The background stops being background. Everything, every single thing in the frame turns out to have a job, a role, a place in a society far older and far stranger than our own. If that is the kind of thing you came here for, hit subscribe. It takes 1 second, it costs you nothing, and it lets me keep building these worlds for you. And when you finish, tell me in the comments which citizen was your favorite. The powerful ones or the quiet ones nobody notices. I read every single one. Get comfortable. Welcome to the city. It was always there. We just never knew to look. I want you to imagine that you have just arrived in a city. Not a human city. A city under the water. Because that is the idea I want you to hold on to for this entire video. And I promise you, by the end, it is going to change how you see the ocean. A coral reef is not just a pretty collection of fish and rocks. A coral reef is a city. It has architecture. It has neighborhoods. It has residents and workers and rules and an economy. It has criminals and builders and a communication network and a social order. It is a functioning civilization hidden under the waves that has been running for millions of years, completely indifferent to the fact that we never noticed it was a society at all. And like any city, the very first thing you would notice if you actually looked, the thing happening constantly in the background that everyone ignores, is the construction. Because a city is never finished. A city is always being torn down and rebuilt, repaved, maintained, demolished, reconstructed. There is always a crew somewhere with the equivalent of a jackhammer tearing into the structure, and the noise of it is the background hum of the whole place. The ocean city has that too. And to prove to you that this whole metaphor is real and not just a cute framing device, I want to start with the construction crew. The workers who right now are out there chewing on the city walls and accidentally paving the beaches. Meet the parrotfish. Now, the parrotfish looks like the last animal you would cast as a construction worker. It is brightly colored, almost gaudy, painted in greens and blues and pinks. It looks decorative. It looks like something the city put up for aesthetics, like a mural or a fountain. And that is exactly the misunderstanding I want to clear up first, because the parrotfish is not decoration. The parrotfish is labor. It is one of the hardest working blue-collar animals in the entire ocean, and it is doing a job that the whole city depends on, in plain sight, while everyone admires its colors and misses the jackhammer. Here is the job. Listen to a reef sometime with your head underwater, and you will hear a strange crunching sound, like gravel being crushed, coming from all directions. That sound is the parrotfish working. Because the parrotfish does not eat the way other fish eat. The parrotfish bites the reef, directly. It swims up to solid coral and takes a chunk out of it with a hard, fused, beak-like mouth, the way you would bite into an apple, except the apple is made of stone. Why? Because the parrotfish is after the algae that grows on and inside the coral. And here is where it becomes genuine construction work, with real consequences for the city. Because the algae are a problem. Algae grow fast. If they are left to spread, they cover the coral, block its light, and smother it. A reef overrun with algae is a reef that dies. So the city needs something to constantly scrape the walls clean, to crop the algae back, to keep the fast-growing green stuff from choking the structure. It needs a maintenance crew that shows up every single day and scrapes down the surfaces. That is the parrotfish. Every bite removes algae. Every scrape clears the walls. The bright, gaudy, decorative-looking fish is actually the cleaning and demolition crew that keeps the city's walls from being overgrown and destroyed. It is doing essential structural maintenance all day, every day, for its entire life. And we have proof of how much it matters. Where parrotfish get removed by overfishing, reefs flip much faster into algae-choked ruins. Take away the construction crew, and the city walls get overgrown and collapse. The workers are not optional. They are infrastructure. But here is the part that takes this from clever metaphor to genuinely surprising, and it is the detail that makes the parrotfish the perfect opening citizen of this city. Because the parrotfish does not just demolish, it also builds. Specifically, it builds the ground. When the parrotfish bites off that chunk of coral, it grinds the rock up in a mill in its throat, digests the algae off it, and then passes the leftover stone, the indigestible calcium carbonate, all the way through its body. And it comes out the other end as fine white sand. Yes, I am telling you that this animal eats the city walls and excretes pavement. A single large parrotfish produces hundreds of pounds of sand per year. And that sand does not just vanish. It settles. It accumulates. It builds up the seafloor. It forms the beaches. The white sand beaches of the tropics, the ones in every postcard, the ones tourists fly across the world to lie on, are, to a significant and scientifically verified degree, parrotfish waste. The construction crew demolishes the coral walls and in the process paves the beaches with the rubble. Literally. The beach you love is, in part, processed fish poop. I think about this constantly now, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but you deserve to know. So sit with the full picture, because this is the proof of the whole concept. Here is an animal that, on the surface, looks like pure decoration. And underneath, it is doing two of the most fundamental jobs in any city. It demolishes and maintains the existing structure, keeping the walls clean so the city does not get overgrown and collapse. And it produces the raw material that builds new ground and new beaches, demolition and paving. The parrotfish is the construction crew, the maintenance department, and the cement supplier, all in one bright little body that nobody ever thinks to take seriously. And once you see it this way, you cannot unsee it. The ocean city is not a static, finished thing. It is a place under constant construction. The reef you are looking at right now is being demolished and rebuilt, bite, by mouths. The walls are being chewed down. The ground is being repaved. The whole structure is in a permanent state of renovation, and the workers responsible are swimming around in bright colors, being mistaken for scenery, while they do the heaviest labor in the entire sea. That, to me, is the perfect way to enter this city. Because it teaches you the first rule of the ocean civilization. Nothing here is just decoration. Everything has a job. The animal you assume is background is, more often than not, infrastructure. The thing you mistake for a pretty fish is actually the crew keeping the city standing. Tell me, in the comments, whether you had any idea the parrotfish was doing this. Because I think most people see that crunching fish on a reef and have no clue they are watching the ocean's construction crew demolish and repave a city in real time. And if a fish this overlooked turns out to be infrastructure, just imagine what else is hiding in this place. That is the first citizen of the ocean city, the construction crew. And we are just getting to the edge of town. Every city has a part nobody wants to think about. You use it every single day. You depend on it completely. The entire place would collapse into disease and filth within a week without it. And yet you never look at it, never thank it, and would honestly prefer not to know the details. I am talking, of course, about the sewer system, the sanitation infrastructure. the unglamorous, hidden, slightly gross network of workers and pipes that takes the city's waste and makes the city livable. The ocean city has one too. And in the ocean, the sewer system is an animal. A real, living, crawling animal whose entire job is to process the filth of the seafloor and turn it back into something useful. And I have to warn you, this animal's story is one of the strangest and frankly most disgusting in this entire video. But every city needs someone willing to do the dirty job. And down in the ocean city, that someone looks like a leathery sausage with emergency self-destruct powers. Meet the sea cucumber. Let me start by being honest about what this animal looks like, because it is part of the charm. The sea cucumber is, visually, the least impressive creature in this entire civilization. It is a tube, a soft, leathery, lumpy tube that sits on the seafloor and moves so slowly you genuinely cannot tell if it is moving at all. It has no face, no eyes worth mentioning, no brain to speak of. If you found one without context, you would assume it was a discarded object, not an animal. It is the underwater equivalent of a length of old hose lying in a ditch. And like the sewer system, it is doing one of the most important jobs in the entire city. Here is the work. The sea cucumber eats the seafloor. Literally. It crawls along the bottom, slowly, ingesting sediment, sand, mud, the whole mix of dead and decaying material that settles down to the floor of the ocean. Everything in the city eventually dies, decays, or produces waste, and all of it drifts down and collects on the bottom. In a city, that accumulation would be a catastrophe. Rotting organic matter piling up, oxygen getting depleted, harmful bacteria taking over, a buildup of filth that poisons everything. The sea cucumber prevents that. It processes the sediment through its body, extracts the organic material and the nutrients, and excretes the cleaned, reoxygenated sand back out the other end. It is, in the most literal sense, a sewage treatment plant on legs, or rather, on tube feet. It takes in the dirty material, processes it, and outputs something clean and usable. The nutrients it recycles become available to other organisms. The sediment it churns gets oxygenated. The seafloor stays healthy. The city stays livable. And just like in a human city, this work is completely invisible and almost entirely unappreciated. Nobody watches a documentary and gets excited about the sea cucumber. Nobody puts it on a poster. But we have tested what happens when the sewer system fails, when sea cucumber populations are stripped out, and the results are exactly what you would expect. The sediment goes stagnant. Oxygen-starved dead zones can form. Harmful processes take over. The bottom of the city starts to rot. The sanitation worker that nobody respects turns out to be holding up the health of the entire floor. Now, this would be a perfectly good chapter if I stopped there. The humble sewer system. The unappreciated sanitation worker. A nice lesson about respecting the people doing the dirty jobs. But I cannot stop there. Because the sea cucumber has a second life that is so bizarre, it belongs in a completely different video. And I have to tell you about it. Because it is one of the most absurd things any animal in this city does. You see, the sea cucumber is soft, slow, blind, and defenseless. It is the easiest possible target. So you would assume predators just eat it constantly. And the sea cucumber's response to being attacked is a series of emergency defenses so unhinged that I genuinely struggle to believe they are real, even knowing that they are. Defense number 1. Toxic chemistry woven into its body. A predator that bites it gets a foul, irritating mouthful. Reasonable enough. Normal even. Defense number 2. If that fails, the sea cucumber shoots sticky threads out of its rear end at the attacker. I am not joking. It expels a tangle of adhesive threads from its backside that swell up in the water and gum up the predator's mouth and body. The sanitation worker's first serious line of defense is rear-end glue. This is real. And defense number 3, the one that should not be legal. If the threads do not work, the sea cucumber ejects its own internal organs. It tears open part of its own body and throws its intestines and internal structures at the predator as a distraction. The predator goes for the free meal of floating organs, and the now hollow sea cucumber slowly crawls away to safety. And then, because nature was clearly showing off at this point, it regrows the organs over the following weeks. All of them. Brand new set. So this is the full resume of the Ocean City's sewer system. By day, it is a humble, essential sanitation worker, quietly cleaning the seafloor and keeping the whole city from rotting. And when threatened, it deploys toxic chemistry, fires sticky threads from its butt, and as a last resort, throws its own organs at the enemy and grows new ones later. The most unglamorous worker in the city is also somehow the one with the most insane emergency powers. It is as if the guy who maintains the sewers also happened to be a stunt performer with a self-rebuilding body. I find this genuinely delightful and also genuinely meaningful, which is a rare combination. Because underneath the absurdity, the sea cucumber is teaching the same lesson the parrotfish taught, just from a different angle. The animals that look the least impressive are often the ones holding the city together. The sewer system is never glamorous. The sanitation worker never gets the statue in the square. But remove them, and the whole civilization rots from the bottom up. The Ocean City understands this even if we do not. It put one of its most essential jobs in the body of an animal so humble that nobody bothers to look at it, and gave that animal a ridiculous arsenal of survival tricks to make sure the job keeps getting done. So the next time you see a sea cucumber, that boring leathery tube on the seafloor, I want you to see it for what it actually is. The unsung sanitation department of the Ocean City. The animal doing the dirty work that keeps the whole place livable. And when pushed, possibly the strangest action hero in the entire sea. Tell me, in the comments, which of the sea cucumber's defenses is your favorite? I am personally torn between the butt glue and the throw your own organs and regrow them option. Both feel like ideas that should have been rejected by every committee in nature and somehow made it into production anyway. That is the second citizen of the Ocean City. The sewer system. The dirtiest job in town, done by the unlikeliest worker, with the most ridiculous backup plan imaginable. So far, we have stayed at street level. The construction crew chewing the city walls. The sewer system crawling along the floor. We have been down in the reef, in the streets and the foundations, looking at the workers who keep the structure standing. But a city is not only its streets. A city has airspace. It has the wide open routes above the buildings, where traffic moves on a different scale entirely. The Ocean City has that too. And I want to take you up now, out of the reef, off the bottom, into the open blue water that rises above the city like an enormous sky. Because up there, gliding along routes you cannot see from the surface, is the Ocean City's public transport. Its sky bus. An animal so large and so graceful that watching it move feels less like watching a fish and more like watching a vehicle. Meet the Manta Ray. Let me give you the scale first, because the scale is the whole point. The largest manta rays have a wingspan of up to 7 meters, wider than most rooms. And despite that enormous size, the manta does not thrash or struggle through the water. It flies. It beats its huge triangular wings in slow, powerful, hypnotic strokes and glides through the open ocean with a grace that genuinely does not seem possible for something that big. If the parrotfish was the construction crew and the sea cucumber was the sanitation worker, the manta is the great gliding bus of the open water, cruising along its routes high above the rooftops of the reef. And here is the part that makes the public transport metaphor real, not just poetic. The manta runs routes. Scheduled, predictable routes. It does not wander randomly. It follows specific patterns through the ocean, and it follows them because of where the food is. The manta is a filter feeder. Despite its size, it lives on plankton, the tiny drifting organisms suspended in the water. It cruises with its mouth open, funneling water through specialized filters, straining out the plankton and letting the water pass through. The biggest glider in the city, living on the smallest food in the city. But here is the thing about plankton. It is not spread evenly. The open ocean is mostly empty, a vast blue desert with very little life in most of it. The plankton gathers in specific places, concentrated by forces you cannot see from the surface. currents that sweep nutrients along, upwellings where cold, rich water rises and triggers explosions of plankton growth, temperature boundaries and seasonal blooms. These are the invisible highways of the ocean city, rivers of food running through the empty blue, laid down by physical forces no human eye can detect from above. And the manta knows these routes. The manta has, in effect, memorized the bus schedule of the open ocean. It knows where the plankton gathers and when. It follows the invisible highways across enormous distances, arriving where the abundance is, riding the currents like a bus following its line through the city. From the surface, you would see nothing, just empty blue water, and occasionally a manta gliding through it for no apparent reason. But the manta is not wandering aimlessly. It is running a route along a highway you cannot see, between feeding zones that exist on a map only the ocean knows how to draw. I find that genuinely beautiful. The ocean city has a transit system, and the routes are invisible, written in currents and plankton, and the buses are giant winged animals that have learned the schedule. The manta is not just a magnificent creature, it is infrastructure that moves. It is the connection between the productive zones of the ocean, gliding back and forth along lines that have run, more or less, for as long as the currents have flowed. And like any good transit system, the manta has stops. This is one of my favorite details, because it completes the metaphor almost too perfectly. Mantas visit cleaning stations. These are specific locations on the reef run by smaller fish called cleaner wrasses, whose whole job is to remove parasites and dead skin from larger animals. The manta arrives at one of these stations, slows down, and essentially hovers in place while the little cleaner fish swarm over its huge body, picking it clean. It is a service stop, a maintenance depot. The sky bus pulls into the station, gets cleaned and serviced by the local crew, and then heads back out onto its route. Think about how perfectly that fits the city. You have a transit vehicle running invisible routes, and along those routes there are dedicated service stations, staffed by specialist workers, where the vehicle stops to get maintained before continuing its journey. The mantas even appear to remember which stations are good and return to them. They have favorite stops. The ocean city has not just public transport. It has a public transport system, with routes and stops and a maintenance network, all of it running smoothly, all of it invisible to us on the surface, all of it built out of currents and giant gliding animals and tiny cleaning crews working in concert. Now I want to add a touch of the depth that mantas deserve, because they are not just vehicles. They are smart. The manta has one of the largest brains relative to body size of any fish. It is curious. It investigates divers, sometimes seeming to genuinely interact with them, circling back, making what looks like deliberate contact. There is something going on behind those eyes. So the sky bus is not a dumb machine running its route. It is an intelligent, aware animal, navigating a complex world, making choices, remembering places. The transit system of the ocean city is staffed, in a sense, by thoughtful drivers. And here is the quiet lesson the manta teaches about the city, the one that goes beyond the fun of the metaphor. The ocean city is bigger than the reef. We tend to think of the underwater world as the reef, the structure, the colorful, crowded part. But the reef is just downtown. The city extends upward and outward into the vast open blue, and that open space is not empty. It is crisscrossed with invisible routes, with traffic, with movement on a scale we cannot perceive from the surface. The manta reveals the city's transit network, the connections between distant parts of the ocean, the highways of food and movement that tie the whole civilization together. Without those routes, the city would be a collection of isolated neighborhoods. The manta, gliding along its invisible lines, is part of what connects them. So the next time you see footage of a manta ray gliding alone through empty blue water, I do not want you to see a solitary fish in the void. I want you to see a bus on a route, following a highway you cannot see, between zones of the city you did not know were connected, heading for a service station staffed by a crew that has been expecting it. The open ocean is not empty. It is the airspace of a city, and the manta is its public transport, flying on wings, running on a schedule written in currents. Tell me in the comments, whether you had ever thought of the open ocean as having traffic. Because once you see the Manta as a bus on an invisible route, the whole empty blue starts to look like a transit map you just cannot read yet. That is the third citizen of the ocean city, the Sky Bus, and it just connected the whole town together. Every city has them. The corner hustlers, the small-time operators, the guys who are always around, always working some angle, always showing up exactly where something has gone wrong, and there is a chance to grab something before anyone else does. They are not the mayor. They are not the architects. They are not respectable, but they are permanent. Every city has them, and no city ever gets rid of them, because they are too quick, too scrappy, and too stubborn to ever fully clear out. The ocean city has its street thugs too, and they wear armor, they carry weapons on their hands, they have terrible manners, and they will fight literally anyone over a scrap of garbage. Meet the crabs. I have a real soft spot for crabs, and I think by the end of this chapter, you might too, in the way you have a soft spot for a neighborhood character who is technically a menace but is somehow part of what makes the place feel alive. Because crabs are not noble. They are not elegant. They are not magical or mysterious or profound. They are survivors. Scrappy, armored, opportunistic survivors with an attitude that vastly exceeds their size. And in the social structure of the ocean city, they occupy the role of the street-level operator, the hustler, the thug on the corner who knows where everything is and will fight you for it. Let me paint you the character, because the crab has one. First, the crab is a scavenger, which in city terms means it works the alleys. When something dies in the ocean city, when a predator makes a kill and leaves scraps, when any edible thing goes wrong or gets dropped or abandoned, the crab is there. Fast. It can smell decay and opportunity in the water, and it comes scuttling out of whatever crevice it was lurking in to claim its share. It is the animal that shows up the moment there is a mess, picks through the wreckage, and takes whatever it can carry. In a human city, this is the operator who knows when a shipment got dropped, when a store left its back door open, when something fell off the truck. The crab is always nearby when something edible has gone wrong, and it is always first to the scene. Second, the crab is a thief. It does not just clean up after others, it actively steals. A crab will dart in to snatch a falling scrap from under a slower animal, grab food another creature was about to eat, and retreat before anyone can do anything about it. It does not have the dignity to wait its turn. It has the street sense to take what it can while it can. This is not a noble hunter earning its meal. This is a pickpocket working the crowd, grabbing what is loose and vanishing into the alley. Third, and this is where the personality really comes out, the crab is a fighter. An absurd, fearless, completely overconfident fighter. Crabs are intensely territorial, and they will throw down over almost anything. The best crevice, a scrap of food, a piece of rock the size of a coaster. Two crabs meeting on contested ground will square up, raise their claws, posture, and brawl. And the crab does not seem to have any concept of being outmatched. A small crab will square up to something many times its size, with the confidence of an animal that has never once considered the possibility of losing. The crab's solution to nearly every problem is to raise both claws and dare the other party to do something about it. It is the bar regular who will start a fight with someone twice its size and somehow walk away having gotten its way, purely through refusing to back down. And the weapons. The claws are genuinely versatile, which is part of why the crab survives. They are weapons, obviously for the fighting, but they are also tools, for prying open shells, manipulating food, and digging. The crab walks around the city armored, armed, and equipped, like a thug who is also, inconveniently, quite practical. And if a predator grabs it by a claw, the crab will simply detach the claw, leave the predator holding it, and scuttle off to safety, growing a new claw back over time. It will literally sacrifice a limb to win an encounter and then regrow the limb later. That is not noble. That is the move of a survivor who understands that you can lose an arm and still come out ahead. Now here is why the crab is such a perfect citizen for the ocean city, and where the metaphor pays off. The crab thrives in the messy neighborhoods, the rough parts of town. It lives on the reef, sure, but it also lives in the tide pools, the mud, the mangroves, the rubble, the polluted shorelines, the harbors, the industrial edges where the prettier, more delicate animals will not go. The crab is at home in the parts of the ocean city that are chaotic, disturbed and full of leftovers, because chaos and leftovers are its entire business model. A clean, orderly, tightly run neighborhood has no openings for a hustler. A messy one is full of them. And the crab is wherever the mess is, working the angles, getting by. This is why the crab, despite being so unglamorous, is one of the great survivors of the entire ocean. It has been around in some form, through mass extinctions, through every disaster the sea has ever produced. The elegant specialists come and go. The crab just keeps going, claws up, eating the leftovers, fighting the neighbors, refusing to die. It is too scrappy, too flexible, too stubborn, and too unfussy to ever really be cleared out. Every ocean, no matter how it changes, ends up with crabs in it. They are the permanent residents of the bad neighborhood, and the bad neighborhood never closes. And here is the lesson, hiding under all the jokes, because there is one. Every functioning city needs its hustlers and its thugs, as much as it needs its architects and its workers. The crab is the cleanup crew of the alleys. By scavenging the dead and the discarded, it recycles material that would otherwise rot. It clears the wreckage. It keeps the messy parts of the city from getting messier. The thug on the corner is, in his own disreputable way, providing a service. The crab is not respectable, but the ocean city needs the disreputable as much as it needs the dignified. A city made only of architects and noble residents would drown in its own garbage. It needs the operators willing to work the alleys, eat the leftovers, and fight over the scraps. It needs the crabs. So the next time you see a crab scuttling sideways across a rock, claws raised, looking like it is up to something, I want you to see it for what it is. A citizen of the ocean city. Not a noble one, not an elegant one, but a permanent one. The street thug, the hustler, the survivor, working the rough end of town the way it has for hundreds of millions of years, and almost certainly will for hundreds of millions more. Tell me, in the comments, whether you respect the crab or find it ridiculous. Because the honest answer is that it is both, and that is exactly what makes it such a perfect character. The ocean city would be poorer without its thugs. And the crabs, claws up and unbothered, are not going anywhere. That is the fourth citizen of the ocean city, the street thugs. And they have been running these corners since long before there was anyone around to object. Let me introduce you to the most beloved residents of the ocean city. You already know them. Everyone knows them. They are the friendly faces of the reef, the cartoon citizens, the orange and white little fish that an entire generation grew up loving. If the ocean city had a tourism board, this is the animal they would put on the brochure. Adorable, harmless, the mascot of the whole place. And I am here to tell you that this reputation is, at best, half true. Because the clownfish is adorable, yes, but it is not harmless. And where it lives and how it holds onto that home, and what it is willing to do to defend it, reveals one of the most important rules of how the ocean city actually works. The rule is this. In this city, rent is not paid in money. Rent is paid in partnership, in protection, and in attitude. And the clownfish pays all three. So let me show you where this cute little cartoon citizen actually lives, because the address is not what you would expect. The clownfish lives inside a sea anemone. You have seen the images. The little fish nestled into those soft, waving, flower-like tentacles, peeking out, looking cozy and safe. And it looks like the clownfish found itself a charming little garden apartment to live in. A nice soft plant. A pleasant home. Here is the twist. The anemone is not a plant. The anemone is a predator. And those soft, waving tentacles are covered in weapons. Thousands upon thousands of microscopic stinging harpoons loaded with venom, primed to fire the instant anything touches them. For almost every animal on the reef, the anemone is a wall of death. You brush against it once, and you do not brush against it twice, because there is no second time. The anemone catches and kills fish. It is one of the most dangerous structures in the entire city. and the clownfish lives inside it, sleeps in it, rubs against those venomous tentacles all day long, and walks away completely unharmed. So the clownfish has not rented a charming garden apartment. The clownfish has scored a unit inside the most dangerous building in the entire city. A fortress with walls made of venom. The safest possible home, surrounded by the deadliest possible defenses, where no predator dares to follow. The cute little cartoon citizen is living in an armed compound, and it got the lease through a partnership so clever it borders on a con. Here is how the clownfish pays its rent, and this is the partnership part. First, it has to survive living in the fortress at all, which it manages through a hidden trick. The clownfish coats its body in a special mucus, a chemical disguise that either suppresses the anemone's stinging triggers or mimics the anemone's own chemical signature, so that the wall of weapons reads the clownfish as part of itself and refuses to fire. The clownfish carries a forged passport written in biochemistry that lets it walk through the deadly walls untouched. And it has to earn that passport. Young clownfish acclimate to a new anemone gradually, touching the tentacles a little at a time, adjusting their coating until the fortress accepts them. The tenant has to be vetted before it gets the keys. But the clownfish does not just live there for free. It pays. This is a genuine partnership, and both sides benefit. The clownfish provides services to its landlord. It chases away creatures that would try to nibble on the anemone. Fish that eat anemone tentacles get aggressively driven off. Its movements improve water circulation around the tentacles, helping the anemone breathe. Its waste even provides nutrients that feed the algae living inside the anemone's tissues. The clownfish is a tenant who maintains the building, defends the property, and pays into the household in nutrients. In exchange, the landlord provides the safest home in the city. It is, genuinely, one of the best rental agreements in the entire ocean. Protection for service. A fortress for labor. Now here is the part that destroys the harmless cartoon reputation once and for all. The attitude. The clownfish is fiercely, almost comically territorial. That cute little fish will defend its anemone home against threats many times its size, with a ferocity that is genuinely shocking the first time you see it. Divers approaching a clownfish anemone regularly get charged, nipped, and attacked by a fish that weighs less than a sandwich. The clownfish does not care how big you are. The clownfish will come out of its fortress, teeth bared, fins flared, and ram a creature 100 times its size, daring it to come closer. People come up from reefs with little red marks on their hands, delivered by the friendly cartoon mascot of the sea. And this is the third part of the rent. Attitude. In the ocean city, holding on to a good home requires being willing to defend it, and the clownfish is willing. It is small, but it is backed by a venomous fortress, and it knows it. It is the tenant who is tiny, but absolutely will not be pushed around, because it has the deadliest landlord in the city standing behind it. The confidence comes from the alliance. Alone, the clownfish would be an easy snack. Allied with the anemone, wearing its chemical passport, it becomes the fearless little resident who charges intruders without hesitation. So put the whole picture together, and the cartoon mascot becomes something far more interesting. The clownfish is a tenant who scored the safest apartment in the most dangerous building in the city, secured the lease through a clever biochemical disguise, pays its rent through genuine partnership and labor, and defends its home with an attitude wildly out of proportion to its size. It is not a passive, sweet little fish drifting in a flower. It is a sharp, territorial, well-housed resident who understood, a long time ago, the most important lesson of the ocean city. The safest place to live is not away from danger. The safest place to live is inside danger, if you can find a way to be on good terms with it. And that, to me, is the real lesson hiding behind the cute face. This city does not give anything away for free. Even the most beloved, harmless-looking citizen earned its home through alliance, maintenance, and a willingness to fight for it. Cute does not mean harmless. The mascot of the reef is, in fact, a tough, shrewd, territorial tenant living in an armed fortress, paying its rent in services and aggression, and it would do well in any city on Earth. Tell me, in the comments, whether you ever knew the clownfish was this fierce, or whether you bought the cartoon version too. because I think this animal is the perfect reminder that in the ocean city, appearances are a trap. The friendly face on the brochure is, behind closed doors, a hard-nosed tenant who fights for its turf and lives behind walls of venom. That is the fifth citizen of the ocean city, the protected tenants. The cutest residents in town, living in the most dangerous building, and tougher than any of us gave them credit for. In the last chapter, I introduced you to the tenant. Now let me show you the building. Because we spent that whole chapter talking about the Clownfish, the fierce little resident who scored an apartment inside the most dangerous structure in the city. And I kept calling its home a fortress, a wall of venom, an armed compound. But I never really showed you the building itself. I treated it as the setting, the backdrop, the dangerous address the clever tenant moved into. That was a mistake, and I want to correct it now. Because the building is not a backdrop. The building is alive. The building is one of the most quietly menacing pieces of real estate in the entire ocean city. And once you understand what it actually is, you are never going to look at reef scenery the same way again. Because here is the thing this chapter is really about. In the ocean city, the background is not background. A huge amount of what looks like pretty, passive scenery is actually armed property. Living architecture, defended and dangerous, just sitting there looking beautiful. Meet the sea anemone, the armed apartment building of the reef. Let me start with the lie, because the anemone's entire existence is built on a visual deception. The anemone looks like a flower. There is no way around it. It has a soft column rooted to the rock, and from the top spreads a crown of colorful, swaying tentacles that drift in the current like petals in a breeze. Pinks, purples, greens, whites. It moves gently. It looks soft. It looks like the most peaceful, decorative, harmless thing on the reef. If you were designing the most innocent possible piece of scenery to put in the background of a reef scene, you would design something that looks almost exactly like a sea anemone. And that is the trick. Because the anemone is not a flower. It is not a plant at all. It is an animal, a relative of jellyfish and coral, and what looks like a ring of soft petals is actually a ring of weapons surrounding a mouth. Every one of those waving tentacles is coated in microscopic stinging cells. Inside each one is a tiny coiled harpoon, tipped with venom, packed under enormous pressure, like a spring wound so tight it is straining to release. There are thousands of these in a single tentacle, millions across the whole animal, and each one is a loaded trap, doing nothing but waiting for something to touch it. When prey makes contact, the harpoons fire in microseconds, among the fastest movements in all of biology. The barbs punch in, the venom floods through. The prey is paralyzed, and the soft petals fold the meal inward toward the mouth at the center. The beautiful flower eats. So the structure that looks like the gentlest decoration in the city is, in reality, an armed building. A piece of living architecture bristling with millions of loaded weapons, anchored to the rock, looking gorgeous, waiting for something to make the mistake of contact. It is security architecture disguised as ornamental landscaping. The most defended property in the neighborhood, dressed up to look like a window box. And now the Clownfish chapter clicks into place, because you understand what the tenant actually moved into. The Clownfish did not rent a charming garden apartment. The Clownfish secured a unit inside a building whose walls are made of millions of venomous harpoons. And the reason it is the safest home in the city is the same reason the building looks so dangerous from outside. No predator will follow a clownfish into a structure that will sting it to death on contact. The clownfish lives behind walls that kill anything that touches them, protected by a chemical passport that lets it pass through unharmed. The tenant and the building are two halves of one system, and now you can see the whole thing. The fierce little resident and the armed property it calls home. But here is what I really want you to take from this chapter, because it goes beyond just the anemone. It changes how you see the entire city. The anemone teaches you that in the ocean city, you cannot trust scenery. So much of what we look at on a reef and dismiss as background, as pretty filler, as the decorative stuff between the interesting animals, is not passive at all. The anemone looks like a flower, and is a loaded trap. The coral that builds the whole city looks like colorful rock and is actually billions of tiny living animals. The lump on the seafloor might be a camouflaged predator. The patch of algae might be a cleaning station. The reef is not a stage with a few actors on it and a painted backdrop behind them. The reef is a city where the buildings are alive, the scenery is functional, and a great deal of what looks like decoration is actually doing a job, holding territory, or waiting to strike. The anemone is the perfect ambassador for that idea because it is the most flower-like, most decorative, most obviously scenic thing on the reef, and it is secretly armed property. If you cannot trust the anemone to be harmless scenery, you cannot trust anything in this city to be harmless scenery. And that is the right instinct to have here. The ocean city is dense with function. Almost nothing in it is just there to look nice. And I want to point out one more thing about the anemone as architecture because it is genuinely impressive. The anemone barely moves. It is anchored in place. It does not hunt, it does not chase, it does not pursue. It just exists, beautiful and still, and lets the weapons do everything. It is the laziest possible predator and one of the most effective because it turned its entire body into a passive defense and capture system. It is real estate that feeds itself, a building that catches its own meals while standing perfectly still and looking like garden decor. And it has been doing this successfully for hundreds of millions of years, which makes it some of the oldest and most enduring property in the entire city. So the next time you watch a reef documentary and the camera drifts past those soft, colorful anemones swaying in the background, treat it as scenery, as filler, as the pretty stuff between the sharks and the turtles. I want you to remember what you're actually looking at. Armed apartment buildings, living fortresses bristling with millions of loaded harpoons, housing fierce little tenants, catching prey while standing still, disguised as the most innocent flowers in the sea. The background is not background. It is property, and the property is armed. Tell me in the comments whether knowing this changes how you see a reef, because for me it was one of those facts that quietly rewired everything. Once you know the flowers are fortresses, the whole city looks different. The scenery stops being scenery, and you start to understand that in the ocean city, nothing is just there to look pretty. Everything, even the most beautiful thing in the frame, is doing a job. That is the sixth citizen of the ocean city, the armed apartment building, the most beautiful real estate in town, and the most dangerous, standing perfectly still, fully loaded, waiting. Every city has one. The thief the authorities can never catch. There is always a figure in the underworld who is just too good, too quick, too clever, too slippery. The one whose name comes up again and again, who is clearly responsible, who leaves a trail of emptied safes and missing goods behind, and who somehow is never there when anyone arrives. The one who picks any lock, fits through any gap, and vanishes before the alarm finishes ringing. Every city has a master burglar. And if the ocean city had a most wanted list, the suspect at the top would be soft, boneless, and would never once leave a clear photograph behind. Meet the octopus. Now, I know what you are expecting me to say. The octopus is intelligent. It is smart. It solves puzzles. You have heard it 1,000 times in 1,000 documentaries, and I'm not going to do that to you because it misses what is actually interesting. The octopus is not just smart in some abstract, admirable way. The octopus is smart in a very specific, very criminal way. It has the exact skill set of a master burglar. It is a locksmith, a contortionist, a master of disguise, and an escape artist, all in one boneless body. So let me introduce it to you not as a clever animal, but as the city's most accomplished thief, and let me walk you through its rap sheet. First charge: breaking and entering. The octopus is a locksmith of extraordinary talent. Its prey, crabs and clams and snails, hide inside shells behind hinges, sealed up tight in what should be secure little vaults. To the prey, the shell is a locked safe. To the octopus, the shell is a minor inconvenience. It works the shell with patient, methodical pressure, prying, rotating, testing the hinge, finding the structural weakness, applying force at exactly the right angle. If brute force does not work, it has chemical options, drilling through the shell and secreting substances to soften it and weaken the prey inside. In laboratories, octopuses have been filmed unscrewing jar lids, opening child-proof containers, and solving latched boxes. These are not party tricks. This is a burglar demonstrating its core competency. There is no safe in this city. The octopus cannot eventually crack. Second charge: trespass through impossible entry points. The octopus has no bones. The only hard part of its entire body is its beak, roughly the size of a small fingernail. And this means that as long as the beak can fit through a gap, the rest of the octopus can follow, pouring its boneless body through openings that look impossibly small. There is footage from aquariums all over the world of octopuses escaping their tanks by squeezing through tiny gaps, slipping through drainage pipes, flowing through cracks that no observer would believe an animal that size could pass. The octopus does not need the door. The octopus uses the crack under the door, the gap in the wall, the hole no one thought to secure. It is a burglar that can fit through the mail slot. There is no such thing as a sealed room when the intruder has no skeleton. Third charge: disguise. The octopus is a master of altering its appearance instantly. Its skin contains millions of pigment cells wired directly to its nervous system, plus reflective layers and muscular bumps that change its texture. It can change its color, its pattern, and even the apparent roughness of its skin in milliseconds, matching the rock, the coral, the sand, whatever it is sitting against. It does not just hide. It becomes the background. A burglar that can change its face and clothes on command, blending into any wall, any crowd, any surface. By the time you realize the octopus was there, it is wearing a completely different disguise, and you are not sure you saw it at all. And here is the detail that makes this almost unfair. The octopus is colorblind. It produces flawless color disguises without being able to see color itself. The master of disguise cannot even see the costumes it is wearing, and it still gets them perfect. Fourth charge, and this is the signature move: the escape. When the octopus is finally spotted, when a predator closes in and the cover is blown, it does not simply flee. It executes a layered professional escape. It can jet away at speed by expelling water through its siphon. And it can release a cloud of ink, a dark screen that not only blocks the pursuer's vision, but interferes with its sense of smell, so the predator loses both sight and scent of the suspect at once. The ink even tends to hold together in a blob, roughly the size and shape of an octopus. So the predator lunges at the decoy, while the real octopus, having already changed color, slips away in a different direction entirely. It is a smoke bomb and a body double, deployed together by an animal making its getaway. The burglar drops a decoy, throws down a smoke screen, and is gone before the smoke clears. So look at the full rap sheet. Lockpicking, entry through impossible gaps, instant disguise, professional escapes with decoys and smoke screens. There is not a single skill on that list that is not the skill of a master thief. The octopus is not just an intelligent animal that happens to live in the reef. The octopus is the ocean city's burglar, locksmith, and disappearing suspect. And it is genuinely, frustratingly, the best in the business. And here is the part that completes the picture and ties it to the whole city. The octopus is a loner, an operator who works alone, lives alone, hits its targets and retreats to a hidden den. And it is constantly casing the neighborhood. The octopus is famously curious, always investigating objects, testing things, exploring, probing with its arms, gathering information. In burglar terms, it is always scouting, always learning the layout, finding the weak points, figuring out which shells open easiest and which crevices make the best hideouts. It does not just commit the crime. It does the reconnaissance first. It knows the city better than the city knows itself. If the reef had security cameras, the octopus is the figure you would see, again and again, in grainy footage. A shape slipping through a gap that should have been too small. A blur changing color and vanishing into a wall. A suspect at the scene of every cracked shell and emptied burrow, never quite in focus, gone before the next frame. the locksmith, the contortionist, the master of disguise, the escape artist, the one the city can never catch, because by the time anyone notices the crime, the suspect has already changed its appearance, squeezed through an impossible gap, and disappeared into the dark. Tell me, in the comments, what you think of casting the octopus as the city's master burglar, rather than just calling it smart. Because to me, this framing fits far better than the usual one. The octopus does not just have intelligence. It has a specific, almost criminal skill set, perfectly suited to a life of breaking in, taking what it wants, and never getting caught. That is the seventh citizen of the ocean city, the burglar. And somewhere right now, in a reef near you, it is slipping through the back door, leaving no clear photograph behind. Every city has neighborhoods, and every neighborhood has someone who runs it. Not officially. There is no title, no office, no paperwork. But everyone who lives there knows who it is. There is always a figure who sits at the center of the block, who has been there longer than anyone can remember, who does not need to chase or hustle or prove anything because the neighborhood already belongs to them. The old boss. The one who sits in the dark doorway at the end of the street, barely moving, watching everything, and the whole block organizes itself around his presence. He does not go out looking for trouble or for opportunity. He does not have to. The street brings everything to him. The ocean city has these bosses too. And in this chapter, I want to take you to one of the reef's dark doorways and introduce you to the figure sitting in the shadow, controlling the block through nothing more than presence, patience, and the quiet threat of what happens if you get too close. Meet the grouper. After the octopus, this is a deliberate change of energy, and I want you to feel it. The octopus was the burglar, the slippery operator, all motion and cleverness and escape, never in the same place twice. The grouper is the opposite kind of power. The grouper does not slip through cracks. The grouper does not run. The grouper sits. It is heavy, still, entrenched, and immovable. And its power comes not from activity, but from control of a place. The burglar works the whole city and belongs nowhere. The boss owns one block and never leaves it. Let me describe the boss in his doorway because the image is the whole chapter. The grouper is a large, heavy-bodied fish, and the big ones are genuinely imposing. It finds a spot, a cave, an overhang, a dark recess in the reef structure, a doorway in the city wall, and it makes that spot its own. And then it does what bosses do. It waits. It sits in the mouth of its cave, in the shadow, blended against the rock, barely moving. Those big eyes watching the open water in front of it. It is not patrolling. It is not hunting in the active sense. It is holding a position. It is sitting in the doorway, watching the street, letting the neighborhood know that this block is taken. And here is the thing about how the grouper feeds, because it tells you everything about how this kind of power works. The grouper does not chase its food. The grouper is an ambush predator, and its method is to wait until prey drifts close into the kill zone in front of its doorway, and then to strike. And the strike is extraordinary. The grouper opens its enormous mouth so fast and so wide that it creates a sudden vacuum, and the prey is simply sucked in, pulled into the void before it can react. The grouper does not bite its food. It inhales it. One moment a fish is swimming past the dark doorway, the next moment it is gone, and the boss is sitting there, motionless again, as if nothing happened. That is the boss's whole operating philosophy. He does not go out and chase chaos. He does not work the street like the crab or the octopus. He sits in his doorway and lets the street deliver food to him. He has chosen his location carefully, a spot where prey naturally pass, where the geometry of the reef funnels the traffic toward his position, and he simply controls that spot and collects what comes by. It is power through location, power through patience, power through sitting in exactly the right doorway and waiting for the neighborhood to bring you tribute. And the grouper earns this position the way old bosses do, by getting old. A big dominant grouper is not a young fish. Many groupers grow slowly and live for decades. and the largest, most powerful individuals are usually the oldest. They have spent years learning their territory, memorizing every crevice and corridor and ambush point on their block. They know their neighborhood better than anything alive knows it. They have grown large enough that their suction strike can take serious prey, and large enough that few things in the city would dare to challenge them. The grouper's power is the accumulated product of a long life lived in one place. It is the old Don who has been running this block since before most of the current residents were born, and who knows where every body is buried because he put most of them there. And the control radiates outward. This is the part I find genuinely fascinating about the grouper as a boss. Its presence shapes the behavior of the whole neighborhood. Other fish learn where the grouper sits, and they adjust. They root around the dark doorway. They become cautious in certain corridors. The mere existence of the boss in his cave changes how everyone else moves through the block, even when he is doing nothing at all but sitting there. That is real power. The grouper does not have to act to control the neighborhood. Its reputation, its presence, its position in the doorway does the controlling. The whole block organizes itself around the shadow at the end of the street. There is even a detail in the grouper's biology that fits the old boss image almost too well. Many grouper species change sex as they age, typically starting life as females and becoming males as they grow larger and older. So the biggest bosses, the ones holding the prime doorways, are often individuals who have lived an entire life one way before rising into their position of dominance. The boss earned his block over a long and changing life. He was not born into power. He grew into it slowly over decades until the neighborhood was his. So this is the grouper. Not a chaser, not a hustler, not a slippery operator. A boss. An old, heavy, patient figure sitting in the dark doorway of his block, controlling his territory through presence and position, letting the street deliver his meals, while the whole neighborhood quietly arranges itself around the threat of his stillness. He does not need to move. He does not need to prove anything. He has the best doorway on the block. He has held it for years, and everyone knows it. And I will give you the same honest note I have given before about this animal, because it matters. The grouper's power, built on long life and slow growth, also makes it vulnerable in a way the crab and the octopus are not. A boss who takes decades to rise cannot be easily replaced when he is removed. Where groupers are overfished, the old bosses vanish and the neighborhoods they controlled fall into disorder, and it takes a very long time for new bosses to grow into their place. The city needs its old bosses, and they take a long time to make. Tell me in the comments whether you have ever seen a big grouper sitting in its cave on a reef, watching, barely moving. Because once you understand what you're looking at, it is unmistakable. That is not just a large fish resting. That is the boss in his doorway, running the block, waiting for the street to bring him what he is owed. That is the 8th citizen of the ocean city, the neighborhood boss, sitting in the shadow, controlling the corner while the whole street moves around him. After all that stillness, let me wake the city up. The last chapter was the old boss, sitting in his dark doorway, barely moving, controlling the block through patience and presence. Slow, heavy, quiet, good. Hold that image and now throw it out the window, because the next citizen of the ocean city is the exact opposite, and it is going to hit you, almost literally, like a punch. Because every city has a demolition crew. The specialists you call when something needs to come down. The contractors with the heavy equipment and the explosives and the very specific expertise in turning standing structures into rubble. And the ocean city's demolition expert is, without question, the most overpowered contractor in the entire sea. It is also about the size of your finger. And it is bright, gaudy, and colorful, which makes it absolutely the last animal you would ever guess was carrying military-grade demolition gear. Meet the Mantis shrimp. The contractor nobody should hire unless they want the building destroyed. Here is the thing about the Mantis shrimp that makes it so perfect for this role, and so genuinely funny. It is small. It is colorful. It looks ornamental. It looks like the kind of animal the city put up for decoration, like the parrotfish, like background. And folded up under its head is the single most powerful demolition tool, pound for pound, in the entire ocean. The mismatch is the whole joke. It is like discovering that the tiny, brightly dressed guy at the construction site, the one you assumed was an intern, is secretly carrying enough explosive to level a city block and is very much willing to use it. Let me show you the equipment because the specs are genuinely absurd. The mantis shrimp's primary tool is its strike. Folded under its head are a pair of club-like appendages, and when the mantis shrimp decides to use them, they deliver the fastest strike in the entire animal kingdom. We are talking acceleration comparable to a bullet fired from a gun. The club goes from completely still to faster than your eye can follow in a fraction of a thousandth of a second. And the force at the end of that strike is enough to shatter the shells of crabs and snails, structures that are, in city terms, fortified buildings. The mantis shrimp punches through reinforced walls like they are made of plaster. But here is where it goes from impressive to ridiculous. The mantis shrimp moves its club so fast that the water itself cannot get out of the way in time. And when something moves that fast through water, it leaves behind a pocket of vapor, a little bubble of nothing. And then that bubble collapses. And when it collapses, it releases a second shockwave with a flash of light. And the temperature inside that collapsing bubble briefly reaches numbers comparable to the surface of the sun. So let me be clear about what this means. The mantis shrimp does not hit its target once. It hits it twice. Once with the club, and then again, an instant later, with a shockwave from a collapsing bubble of superheated vapor that the first hit created. It is a demolition contractor whose primary tool comes with a built-in secondary explosion. You hire it to knock down one wall, and it knocks down the wall, and then the wall behind the wall, from an animal the size of a pen. And the equipment does not break, which is the part that should not be possible. If you hit things that hard, repeatedly, your tool should shatter. But the mantis shrimp's club is built from a microscopic spiraling structure that redirects and dissipates the force of its own impacts, so it can deliver shell-shattering blows hundreds of times over a lifetime that can span years without the weapon failing. Our actual aerospace engineers have studied this structure, trying to copy it for body armor and aircraft. The demolition contractor's equipment is so advanced that human industry is reverse engineering its tools. The tiny, colorful guy at the construction site has gear our best labs cannot replicate. And then there is the vision, which pushes the whole thing past the point of fairness. You and I see with 3 types of color receptors. The mantis shrimp has up to 16. It sees ultraviolet. It sees polarized light. It perceives a version of reality we are completely blind to, with eyes mounted on stalks that move independently and can judge distance with a single eye. So this is not a blind brute swinging a hammer. This is a demolition expert with the most sophisticated targeting system in the ocean, lining up its shots with precision, in a visual spectrum we cannot even imagine, and then delivering a bullet-speed, double-impact, superheated strike with a self-reinforcing weapon. The contractor came with a scope, a really, really good scope. So put it all together and appreciate the comedy of the thing. The Ocean City's demolition expert is a finger-sized, brightly colored animal carrying a bullet-speed weapon that hits twice, generates flashes of sun temperature heat, never breaks, and is aimed by the most advanced eyes in the sea. It is wildly, absurdly, hilariously overpowered for its size. It is the intern who turned out to be a one-man wrecking crew. And the best part is where it works. The mantis shrimp does not roam the city looking for trouble. It lives in a burrow, a small hole in the reef rubble, and it defends that burrow and breaks open the shells of prey that come near. The most overpowered contractor in the city, running a tiny one-shrimp operation out of a hole in the wall, demolishing snail shells for a living. And it will use that equipment defensively too. Fish that try to probe into a mantis shrimp's burrow can get a strike powerful enough to crack their jaws or damage their eyes. So even the bigger residents of the city give the mantis shrimp's doorway a wide berth. It is small, but everyone on the block knows you do not reach into that particular hole, because the little colorful contractor inside is carrying enough firepower to ruin your day. Respect in the Ocean City is not always about size. Sometimes it is about what the small guy is holding. I genuinely love the mantis shrimp for this, because it breaks the rule that the city seems to run on. We have seen, again and again, that power in the ocean city tends to come from size, from age, from position. The grouper boss is huge and old. The whale is enormous. And then there is the mantis shrimp, a thumbnail-sized animal that is, by raw measurement, the hardest-hitting striker in the entire sea. It is proof that the ocean city has room for the small specialist with the absurd equipment. The contractor who is tiny, overlooked, and carrying more destructive power than animals 100 times its size. Tell me in the comments what you would do with a punch that fast and eyes that complex. Because the mantis shrimp got both, in a body you could hold in your palm, and it mostly uses them to break snail shells and defend a hole in the wall. The most overpowered demolition expert in the city, working a quiet little contract out of a burrow. There is something perfect about that. That is the 9th citizen of the ocean city, the demolition expert. Small, colorful, criminally overpowered, and absolutely not to be hired unless you want the building gone. Let me give you, and honestly give myself, a little break. The last few chapters have been intense. We have had the slippery burglar, the heavy old boss in his doorway, and a finger-sized demolition expert carrying military-grade firepower. The ocean city has felt, for a stretch there, a little like a rough part of town. So for this chapter, I want to introduce you to one of the warmest, cleverest, most genuinely likable citizens in the entire civilization. And I want to do it without turning it into a cartoon, because this animal deserves better than that. It is smarter and more important than its adorable reputation suggests. Meet the sea otter, the worker who brings tools to lunch. Here is the thing about the sea otter that I want to lead with, because it is the detail that elevates it from cute to genuinely remarkable. The sea otter uses tools, not in some vague, loose sense, in a precise, deliberate, planned-ahead sense. The sea otter eats hard-shelled prey, clams, mussels, sea urchins, crabs, animals locked up inside shells that the otter cannot open with its teeth alone. So the otter does what a clever worker does when the job requires equipment. It brings a tool. Watch a sea otter feed, and you will see one of the most charming and intelligent behaviors in the entire ocean. The otter dives down, collects its food, and often collects something else too. A rock. A specific, useful rock. Then it floats on its back at the surface, places the rock on its chest like a little portable workbench, and smashes the shellfish against it, over and over, until the shell cracks open and the meal inside is exposed. It is using a stone as an anvil, as a tool, to process food it could not otherwise eat. And here is the part that genuinely impresses me. Many sea otters keep their favorite rock. They do not just grab any stone and discard it. They find a good one, a rock that works well, and they tuck it into a loose pouch of skin under their forearm, and they carry it with them. From dive to dive, from meal to meal. The sea otter brings its own tools to lunch, keeps the good ones, and reuses them. That is not instinct doing something clever by accident. That is a worker who has figured out that the right equipment makes the job easier, has selected a good tool, and has decided to hold on to it. In a city of animals, the sea otter is the resident who shows up to work with their own well-worn, carefully chosen toolkit, because they know exactly what they are doing. So already, the sea otter is a clever, tool-using, forward-planning worker. That alone would earn it a place in this video. But the otter's real importance to the ocean city is something bigger. And it is the reason I think of it not just as a clever forager, but as one of the most important maintenance workers in the entire civilization. Because the sea otter, through what it eats, holds up an entire neighborhood. Let me explain. Because this is one of the most important relationships in all of marine ecology, and it is a perfect city story. In many cool water parts of the ocean, there are kelp forests. Vast underwater forests of towering kelp, some of the most productive and beautiful ecosystems on the planet, home to countless species. These kelp forests are, in city terms, an entire thriving district. A whole neighborhood of life built around the kelp. And that district has a threat. Sea urchins. Sea urchins eat kelp, including the holdfasts that anchor it to the rock. And if the urchin population is left unchecked, the urchins multiply and graze the kelp forest down to bare rock, turning a lush, living district into a barren wasteland. Scientists call the result an urchin barren, a flat, grey, dead seafloor where a forest used to stand. The district collapses. The neighborhood dies. So what keeps the urchins in check? What stops the district from being destroyed? The sea otter. Sea otters eat sea urchins in large numbers. As long as the otters are present, they keep the urchin population controlled, and the kelp forest flourishes. The whole district stays alive because the otters are doing their job. And we know this is true because we have watched what happens when the otters are removed. When sea otters were hunted nearly to extinction, the urchins exploded. The kelp forests were stripped to barrens, and the entire district collapsed. And where otters have since returned and been protected, the urchins came back under control, and the kelp forests regrew. The district came back to life. So the sea otter is not just a clever worker who brings tools to lunch. The sea otter is a keystone worker, a pest control specialist whose daily job, eating urchins, happens to be the single thing keeping an entire neighborhood of the ocean city from collapsing into a wasteland. Remove this one worker, and a whole district dies. That is enormous responsibility resting on the shoulders, and the chest anvil of one charming, tool-carrying animal floating on its back at the surface. And there is something genuinely moving in how the otter lives, which I want to honor without getting saccharine about it. Sea otters do not have the thick blubber that other marine mammals use to stay warm in cold water. Instead, they have the densest fur of any animal on Earth, and they have to work constantly to maintain it, grooming, eating enormous amounts to fuel their fast metabolism, staying active just to keep warm. The sea otter's life is a life of constant labor. It is always working, always eating, always grooming, always maintaining. It is, in a very real sense, one of the hardest working residents in the city, not because it chooses to be, but because survival in cold water demands it. The clever, tool-using forager is also a tireless worker who never really gets to rest. So here is the sea otter, fully seen. A genuinely intelligent animal that uses tools, selects and keeps the best ones, and brings them to every meal. A tireless worker whose life is constant labor, and a keystone maintenance specialist whose daily job holds an entire district of the ocean city together, the single worker standing between a thriving kelp forest and a barren wasteland. It is warm, it is clever, it is hard-working, and it is quietly essential. That is a citizen worth celebrating. And it teaches in its own warm way the same lesson this whole city keeps teaching. The animals that hold the place together are not always the dramatic ones. Sometimes they are the clever, hard-working, tool-carrying foragers, floating on their backs, cracking shells on their chests, eating urchins one after another, keeping a whole neighborhood alive without any of the other residents quite realizing how much they owe to the worker with the rock. Tell me in the comments whether you knew the sea otter was this important, or whether you, like most people, just thought of it as the adorable one that floats on its back. Because the truth is so much better than the cartoon. It is one of the cleverest, most essential workers in the entire ocean city, and it carries its own tools to lunch. That is the 10th citizen of the ocean city, the worker who brings tools to lunch, and the district it maintains would die without it. In the last chapter, I told you the sea otter's most important job was eating sea urchins, and that without the otters, the urchins would multiply and strip a whole district down to bare rock. I left that hanging on purpose, because now I want to turn around and look at it from the other side, from the urchin's side, because the sea urchin is not a villain in this story, and I want to be really clear about that before we start. The sea urchin is a citizen of the ocean city like everyone else. It has a job. It does its job. And in normal times, that job is a perfectly healthy, necessary part of how the city works. The problem is not the urchin. The problem is what the urchin becomes when the thing that keeps it in check disappears. So let me introduce the sea urchin in the role it actually plays. The graffiti crew that eats the walls. Here is what a sea urchin is and what it does. It is a small, round, spiny animal that grazes. It moves slowly across the sea floor, scraping and chewing at algae and vegetation, with a remarkable little mouth on its underside, a five-toothed structure that scientists named charmingly Aristotle's lantern. One urchin doing this is nothing. A small animal taking small bites off the walls and surfaces of the city. Completely unremarkable. In fact, it is useful. The grazing keeps certain growth in check, opens up space, and is part of the normal cycle of wear and renewal that every living city goes through. Walls get marked, walls get cleaned, surfaces get grazed and regrow. In the right numbers, the urchin crew is just part of the city's normal turnover. Background maintenance. Healthy wear and tear. But here is the thing about the urchin, and it is the key to this entire chapter. The urchin almost never acts alone, and its power, its real power, is not in the individual. It is in the numbers. One urchin is nothing. Thousands of urchins all grazing at once are a force capable of reshaping the city block by block. And what keeps the numbers in check? Predators. In a healthy system, there are animals that eat urchins, the sea otter being the most famous example, but others too, and as long as those predators are present, the urchin population stays moderate. The grazing stays balanced. The crew does its normal maintenance work and the city stays healthy. Everything holds. Now remove the predators. This is where the urchin stops being background maintenance and becomes a slow-motion urban disaster. And this is the real documented story I touched on in the otter chapter, told now from the urchin's side. When the otters were hunted out, the thing that controlled the urchin population vanished. And with nothing eating them, the urchins multiplied and multiplied. And then those thousands upon thousands of small mouths went to work on the walls of the city. They ate the kelp, not just the leaves, but the holdfasts, the bases that anchor the whole kelp forest to the rock. And with no predators to thin them out, they did not stop. They ate and ate and ate, until the lush, towering kelp forest, that thriving district full of life, was stripped down to bare grey rock. The urchin, barren. A flat, dead, desolate seafloor where a forest used to stand. An entire district of the ocean city demolished, not by a storm, not by a giant, not by some dramatic catastrophe, by thousands of small, spiny animals eating the walls, slowly, relentlessly, because nothing was left to stop them. That is the graffiti crew that eats the walls. In small numbers, regulated, controlled, they are just part of the city's normal wear. In the wrong numbers, released from control, they become a force that can erase a whole neighborhood. Same animal, same behavior. The urchin did not change. The urchin did not become greedy or aggressive or villainous. It just kept doing exactly what it always does, eating, and in the absence of anything to limit it, that ordinary behavior, multiplied by the thousands, turned into demolition. And I want to really sit on the point that the urchin is not the villain here, because it matters for how you understand the city. The urchin is a symptom, not a culprit. When you see an urchin barren, a stripped, dead seafloor covered in nothing but spiny urchins, you are not looking at a crime committed by the urchins. You are looking at the evidence that something else already went wrong. The predators are gone. The control failed. The balance broke. The urchins are simply the visible result, the spray paint covering the walls, the proof that the thing that used to keep order is no longer there. The state of the urchins tells you the state of the system. When the wall-eating crew runs wild, it means the city has already lost something higher up. This is why the urchin is such an important citizen to understand, and why it pairs so perfectly with the otter. Together they teach one of the most important lessons in the entire city. The ocean city is held together by balance, by controls, by the relationships between who eats whom. Pull out one piece, remove one predator, and a quiet, ordinary, harmless worker can transform into a runaway force that demolishes a district. The urchin is the ocean city's reminder that disaster does not always come from something big and dramatic arriving. Sometimes it comes from something small and ordinary being released from the thing that used to hold it back. And the kelp forest story has a hopeful ending, which I want to give you because it proves the city can heal. Where sea otters returned and were protected, they brought the urchins back under control, and the kelp forests regrew. The district came back to life. The same lever that broke the system, the predator, restored it when it was put back in place. The graffiti crew went back to being ordinary background maintenance. The walls regrew. The neighborhood recovered. Balance, it turns out, is not gone forever. It just depends on keeping the controls in place. So the next time you see a sea urchin, that small spiny ball on the sea floor, I do not want you to see a monster, and I do not want you to see nothing. I want you to see a force, a citizen doing its job, part of the normal life of the city, but a citizen whose numbers tell you everything about the health of the whole place. In balance, it is wear and tear. Out of balance, it is a slow-motion urban disaster, eating the city's walls block by block. The urchin is not the problem. But when the urchins run wild, you know the city is in trouble. Tell me, in the comments, whether you ever thought of a sea urchin as a force capable of erasing a forest. Because I did not, until I understood this story, and now I see it differently. It is not a villain. It is a measure, a reading on the health of the whole system. And when the small mouths cover the walls, it means the thing that should have stopped them is already gone. That is the 11th citizen of the ocean city, the crew that eats the walls, harmless in balance, devastating out of it, and always a sign of something larger than itself. A few chapters ago, I showed you the neighborhood boss, the grouper, the heavy entrenched power sitting motionless in his dark doorway, controlling his block through patience and presence, letting the street deliver food to him. The boss does not move. The boss does not chase. The boss waits. Now, I want to show you the opposite kind of power in the ocean city, because not all authority sits still in a doorway. Some authority moves. Some authority patrols. Some authority comes flashing down the open lane so fast that by the time you register it is there, it has already passed, or already struck. The grouper is the boss in the building. This next citizen is the patrol car on the open road, and it changes how the whole street feels just by being out there. Meet the Barracuda, the street patrol of the ocean city. Let me start with the look, because the Barracuda is, frankly, one of the most cinematic animals in the entire sea, and its appearance is part of its menace. The Barracuda is built like a blade, long, sleek, silver, streamlined to a point, with a body that catches the light and flashes as it moves. It looks like a knife given the ability to swim, and the mouth, when you see it up close, removes any doubt about what this animal is for. It is full of long, sharp, irregular teeth, fangs designed for one purpose, to grip and to cut. The Barracuda does not look friendly, and it is not trying to. It looks exactly like what it is. A fast, armed predator patrolling the open lanes. And the lanes are the key to understanding the Barracuda's role. Because the Barracuda does not work the tight alleys and crevices of the reef the way the moray or the octopus do. The Barracuda works the open water, the lanes, the wide, clear stretches near the reef edges, the boundaries of the city where the structure gives way to open blue. These are the open roads of the ocean city, the avenues where smaller fish travel between the safety of the reef and the open water, and these are the roads the Barracuda patrols. It hangs near the edges in the open lanes, watching the traffic, a silver presence cruising the boundary of the city. Now here is what makes the Barracuda the patrol car, and not the boss. Speed. The Barracuda is built for acceleration. It can hold a slow, almost lazy patrolling cruise, drifting along the lane, looking deceptively relaxed. And then, in an instant, it can explode into a burst of speed that is genuinely among the fastest of any fish, accelerating to high speeds in a flash to close the distance on prey before the prey can react. This is the patrol car flooring the accelerator. The cruise lulls everything into a false sense of calm, and then the burst comes, too fast to escape. A small fish in the open lane that catches the Barracuda's attention often does not get a second chance, because the strike closes the gap faster than the prey's reflexes can fire. And the Barracuda hunts with a combination of patience and explosive speed that is genuinely cinematic to watch. It often locks onto a target, fixes on it, and then makes that lightning rush, that silver flash through the water, and the powerful jaws and sharp teeth do the rest. There is a reason Barracuda strikes are so dramatic on film. The contrast between the slow patrolling cruise and the sudden, blinding acceleration is exactly the contrast that makes a chase exciting. One moment, calm. The next, a blur of silver and a strike. The patrol car was idling at the corner, and then it was just gone, flashing down the lane. And here is the part that connects the Barracuda to the social structure of the whole city. The Barracuda's presence changes how the open lanes feel for everyone else. Just like a patrol car on a street, the Barracuda does not have to be actively chasing anything to affect the neighborhood. Its mere presence in the open lanes makes the smaller residents cautious. They stay closer to cover. They are more nervous in the open. They move differently when a Barracuda is patrolling nearby. The Barracuda controls the open water not by occupying it the way the grouper occupies his doorway, but by patrolling it, by being a fast, visible, dangerous presence that everyone has to account for. The boss controls a block through stillness. The patrol controls the open roads through motion and speed. There is also a detail about the Barracuda that adds to its slightly unnerving reputation, and it is worth mentioning honestly. Barracuda are known to be attracted to flashing, shiny objects. This is thought to be because the flash resembles the glint of light off the scales of a small fish, the kind of visual cue that says prey. It is the patrol's targeting instinct, tuned to a specific signal. And it is the reason divers are sometimes advised not to wear flashy jewelry in waters where Barracuda patrol, because the flash can draw the patrol's attention in a way that is, occasionally, a problem. The patrol is keyed to a signal, and sometimes the signal gets crossed. It is a small, sharp reminder that the Barracuda is a genuine predator with a genuine targeting system, not just decorative menace. So this is the Barracuda, the street patrol of the ocean city. Not the entrenched boss in his doorway, but the fast, sleek, armed presence cruising the open lanes, controlling the avenues through speed and threat, capable of going from a lazy cruise to a blinding strike in an instant. It is one of the most visually striking citizens in the entire city, a silver blade flashing through the open water, and its role is to define the danger of the open roads, the same way the patrol car defines the feel of an open street. And I think the pairing with the grouper is what makes the Barracuda click into place, which is why I structured it this way. The ocean city has two completely different models of predatory authority, and they show you how varied power can be even within one civilization. There is the boss, who controls a fixed location through patience and presence and never moves. And there is the patrol, who controls the open spaces through speed and threat and never stops moving. The grouper owns a doorway. The Barracuda owns the road. Both are powerful. Both shape how the city's residents behave. But one rules by sitting still, and the other rules by being faster than anything around it. Tell me, in the comments, which kind of power you find more intimidating. The boss who waits in the doorway, or the patrol that comes flashing down the lane before you can react. Because the ocean city has both, and the small residents have to navigate a world where danger can either be sitting perfectly still in the shadows or screaming down the open road at a speed they cannot outrun. That is the 12th citizen of the ocean city, the street patrol. A silver blade on the open lanes, idling one moment, gone the next. Let me introduce you to a citizen who looks completely, hopelessly defenseless. After the Barracuda, the sleek silver patrol blade flashing down the open lanes, this next resident is going to feel like a joke. Because it is slow. It is awkward. It paddles around the city with two little fins like someone leisurely steering a kayak. It has no speed, no armor, no claws, no obvious weapons. It has a face that frankly looks faintly surprised at all times. If you were a predator scanning the ocean city for an easy meal, your eyes would land on this animal, and your brain would say, yes, that one is lunch. And your brain would be making a catastrophic mistake. Because this harmless-looking, slow, surprised-faced little citizen is, in fact, a walking security alarm wired to one of the most dangerous payloads in the entire sea. It looks like the easiest target in the city. Setting it off is one of the last mistakes a predator ever makes. Meet the pufferfish, the walking alarm. Here is the thing about the pufferfish that makes it such a perfect citizen for the ocean city. Most of the time, the alarm is off. The pufferfish just bumbles around, slow and unremarkable, doing its thing, looking like the city's most obvious victim. It is not fast enough to flee. It is not armored enough to fight. By every normal measure of survival, it should have been eaten out of existence a long time ago. It seems to have brought nothing to the dangerous neighborhood it lives in. But the pufferfish made a different bet than most animals. Instead of investing in speed or armor or weapons it could use offensively, the pufferfish invested everything into one thing: a security system that activates the instant something tries to attack it. The pufferfish is slow and vulnerable 99% of the time on purpose, because all of its survival is loaded into what happens in the one moment a predator commits. And in that moment, the alarm goes off. Let me show you the alarm, because it deploys in stages, and each stage is more serious than the last. Stage 1, the part everyone knows. Inflation. The instant a predator lunges, the pufferfish rapidly gulps water into a specialized, extremely elastic stomach, and in a second or two, it inflates into a rigid sphere several times its normal size. The slow, snack-sized little fish suddenly becomes a beach ball with a face. And this is not just for show. Every predator has a hard limit on how big a thing it can fit in its mouth. The pufferfish in one motion throws itself past that limit. The mouth that was opening for a snack now cannot close around the prey at all. The alarm has tripped, and the meal has just become physically impossible to swallow. Stage 2, the escalation. For many species, as the body inflates and the skin stretches, sharp spines that were lying flat snap up rigid. So now, the predator is not just facing something too big to swallow. It is facing something too big to swallow that is also covered in needles. The alarm did not just lock the doors, it deployed the spikes. Any predator still trying to force the issue is now getting a mouthful of inflated, spined resistance. And stage 3, the part that turns this from a funny defense into a genuinely deadly one: the toxin. Because hiding inside the tissues of many pufferfish is a neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin. And this is where the humor has to stop, because tetrodotoxin is one of the most potent toxins in the entire natural world. Gram for gram, it is many times more deadly than cyanide. There is no antidote. It works by silently shutting down the nervous system, blocking the signals that nerves send to muscles, until the muscles, including the ones that control breathing, simply stop responding. A predator that manages to bite and swallow a toxic pufferfish may find its own body shutting down from the inside. So the full alarm system goes like this. The slow, surprised-faced, harmless-looking citizen gets attacked. Stage 1, it inflates into an unswallowable spiked ball. Stage 2, the spines lock rigid. Stage 3, and if the predator somehow gets past all of that, the payload is a toxin among the deadliest in nature. The alarm is not just loud. The alarm is lethal. And the predators of the ocean city learn this. They learn that the slow, surprised-looking fish is not the easy meal it appears to be. They learn to leave it alone. The pufferfish does not need to be fast or strong. It only needs each predator to make the mistake once. And here is the genuinely clever part, the part that completes the alarm system metaphor. The pufferfish wants to be recognized. The inflation, the dramatic transformation, even the coloration. All of it serves as a warning, a visible alarm that tells predators, you do not want to do this. A predator that has had a bad experience with a pufferfish, or watched another predator have one, learns to associate that shape and that behavior with serious consequences. The pufferfish is, in effect, a security system that announces itself. It would much rather scare you off than ever have to actually poison you. The flashing lights and the loud siren are the whole point. The deadly payload is the backup. I find the pufferfish genuinely delightful as a citizen because it embodies a survival philosophy that almost no other animal in the city uses. It does not compete on speed like the Barracuda. It does not control territory like the grouper. It does not hustle like the crab or build like the parrotfish. The pufferfish made the bet that the best way to survive in a dangerous city is not to be powerful, but to be an absolutely terrible idea to attack. To be the citizen that looks like a victim and turns out to be a walking alarm wired to a lethal consequence. And that bet has paid off magnificently. Pufferfish thrive in dangerous waters full of fast predators, precisely because every one of those predators has learned, the hard way, what happens when the alarm goes off. So the next time you see a pufferfish bumbling along, slow and round and surprised looking, I want you to see past the harmless face. That is not the city's most obvious victim. That is a walking security alarm, deceptively calm, wired to a multi-stage defense that ends in one of the deadliest toxins in the ocean. Harmless face, ridiculous body, serious consequences. The pufferfish is proof that in the ocean city, the citizen who looks the most helpless is sometimes the one you least want to set off. Tell me in the comments whether you would rather survive by being fast or by being a terrible meal. Because the pufferfish made its choice a long time ago, and looking at how well it has done, I am honestly not sure it chose wrong. There is something to be said for being the animal that everyone, eventually, just decides to leave alone. That is the 13th citizen of the ocean city. The walking alarm. Slow, round, harmless looking, and absolutely not worth the consequences of finding out otherwise. Everything we have looked at so far has been in the light. The construction crews and the sewer workers and the bosses and the patrols, the bright reef neighborhoods, the colorful crowded streets where the sun reaches down through the water and everything is visible. That is the ocean city most people imagine. The shallow, sunlit, vibrant surface of it. But a great city is not only its surface. A great city has depth. It has layers beneath the streets. Basements, tunnels, foundations, an entire dark world underneath the visible one, where the lights do not reach, and most of the residents above never go. The bright city sits on top of a deep one. The ocean city has this too, and its underground is the most extreme environment on the entire planet. Below the sunlit reef neighborhoods, the water gets darker and colder and heavier, layer after layer, until you reach a place where there is no light at all. A black underground, more than a mile down, where the pressure would crush almost anything from the surface, where the temperature is near freezing, where the sun has never once reached and never will. It is the basement of the ocean city, the deep dark beneath the streets, and something lives down there. Something enormous moves through that blackness, descending from the bright city above into the lightless underground, hunting in a place where no resident of the reef could survive for a moment. The deep city giant. Meet the sperm whale. The sperm whale is the largest predator with teeth on the planet, and it is the citizen that connects the bright surface city to the black underground. Because the sperm whale does not live entirely in either world, it breathes air at the surface, up in the light where the rest of the city's life happens, and then it descends. It leaves the bright world behind and drops down into the dark basement of the ocean, more than a mile down, into the crushing black, to hunt, and then it comes back up. It is the giant that moves between the two cities, the surface and the deep, the only resident large enough and tough enough to commute between worlds that should be completely separate. Let me give you the scale of that descent, because it is genuinely one of the most extreme journeys any animal makes. The sperm whale dives to depths of 2,000 meters or more on a single breath, holding that breath for up to an hour and a half. Think about that. It fills its body with air at the surface, and then it goes down into a place with no air at all, and it stays there, working, for as long as 90 minutes, before returning to breathe. Its body is engineered for this in extraordinary ways. Its lungs collapse under the pressure rather than fighting it. Its oxygen is stored not in the lungs, but bound up in its blood and muscles, so much of it that the muscle tissue is nearly black. Its heart slows to a crawl to conserve every molecule of oxygen. It is, in every sense, built to leave the bright city behind and survive in the basement where nothing else can go. But surviving the deep is only half of it. The sperm whale also hunts down there in total darkness, and this is where the deep city reveals its strangest rule. Because in the black underground, sight is useless. There is no light to see by, so the sperm whale does not navigate the deep with its eyes. It navigates with sound. And this is the key to understanding the basement of the ocean city. Down there, where the lights end, sound becomes the map. The sperm whale has, inside its enormous head, one of the most powerful acoustic systems in nature. It produces clicks, the loudest biological sounds on the planet, and projects them out into the darkness. Those clicks bounce off objects and return as echoes, and from those echoes the whale builds a detailed three-dimensional picture of a world it cannot see. It hunts giant squid down there, in the black, finding them entirely through sound. The whale does not see the deep city. It listens to it. It maps the darkness with sound the way the surface residents map their world with light. In the basement of the ocean, the map is made of echoes, and the sperm whale is the one who reads it. So picture the full structure of the ocean city now, top to bottom. At the surface, in the light, the bright reef neighborhoods, crowded and colorful and visible, where the parrotfish and the clownfish and the grouper and the barracuda all live their lives. And then, descending below them, the water darkening layer by layer, until you reach the black underground, more than a mile down, crushing and cold and lightless. And moving through that underground, the deep city giant, the sperm whale, the only citizen large enough to commute between the bright world and the dark one, hunting in the basement by sound, then rising back up into the light to breathe. The city is not flat. The city has depth, and the deepest layers are a black world that only the giant can enter. I find this genuinely awe-inspiring and a little eerie, which is exactly why it belongs here as the video nears its end. Because the sperm whale reveals something about the ocean city that changes the whole picture. The bright, colorful, crowded reef that we think of as the ocean is just the top floor, the penthouse. Beneath it stretches an enormous dark city, layer after layer of black water, most of it unexplored, most of it unseen. A deep world with its own giant residents moving through it in ways we are only beginning to understand. We map the surface and think we know the city. And all the while, beneath the streets, in the dark, the giant is descending, hunting by sound, in a basement so deep and so black that we need machines just to glimpse it. And the sperm whale is the proof that the deep city is real and inhabited, because it goes there every day and comes back. It is the link, the commuter between worlds. The giant who lives in the light but works in the dark, who carries the bright city's air down into the black underground and returns. If you ever doubted that the ocean city has depths far beyond the reef, the sperm whale is your evidence. It descends into a world we cannot follow it into, and it does so as casually as the rest of the city goes about its day. Tell me in the comments how it strikes you to think of the ocean as a city with a black underground a mile beneath the bright streets. Because for me, the sperm whale reframes the entire scale of this place. The reef is not the city. The reef is the surface of the city. And below it, in the dark, the deep city giant is moving through layers most of the residents above will never see, mapping the blackness with sound, the lone giant of the underground. That is the 14th citizen of the ocean city, the deep city giant, living in the light, working in the dark, the one resident who can travel all the way down to where the city's basement disappears into black. We have walked the whole city now. We have met the construction crew chewing the walls and the sewer system crawling the floor, the sky bus gliding the open lanes and the street thugs working the alleys, the protected tenant and the armed building it lives in, the burglar slipping through the back door and the old boss sitting in his shadowed doorway, the demolition expert and the tool-carrying worker and the wall-eating crew, the silver patrol and the walking alarm and the giant of the black underground. We have met the residents of the ocean city one by one and seen the jobs they do and the roles they play. And I made a choice about how to end this, the same choice I always seem to come back to. I could close on a giant, on power, on something dramatic to leave you with a final jolt. But I do not want to, because if I ended this video on a predator, I would be telling you the wrong thing about the city. This whole video has quietly been making an argument, citizen by citizen, and the argument is this. The ocean city does not run on power. It runs on roles. It runs on the quiet workers as much as the dramatic bosses. And the most important lesson of all is one that only a small, fragile, unnoticed citizen can teach. So I want to end not with the loudest resident, but with the one you would never even see. Meet the Leafy sea dragon, the citizen disguised as scenery. Let me describe it, though description struggles. Imagine a slender, delicate creature, related to the seahorse, drifting through a forest of seaweed off the temperate coast of southern Australia. And growing from its body, all along its back and sides and head, are dozens of long, flowing, leaf-shaped appendages, translucent and tinted in soft golds and greens that drift and sway in the current exactly like the kelp around it. The animal does not look like an animal. It looks like a piece of living seaweed that learned somehow to drift through the city. It is one of the most beautiful, otherworldly creatures in the entire sea, and its entire way of life, its whole role in the city, is to not be noticed, to disappear, to be mistaken for the scenery itself. This is the perfect citizen to end on, because of everything this video has taught you about the ocean city. Remember the very first chapter with the parrotfish? The lesson there was that nothing in this city is just decoration. The thing you assume is background is usually infrastructure. The pretty fish is the construction crew. And then the anemone taught you that you cannot even trust the scenery because the beautiful flower is an armed building. Over and over this whole video, the message has been the same. In the ocean city, the background is never just background. Everything is doing a job. Everything is a citizen. And the Leafy sea dragon is the ultimate expression of that idea. Because it is a citizen who has chosen, as its entire survival strategy, to look exactly like the scenery. It has made itself into background on purpose. Those beautiful leaf-shaped appendages serve no other function. They do not help it swim. They produce no thrust. Their only job is disguise, to break up the animal's outline so completely that predators looking for a fish cannot find it. The Leafy sea dragon does not hide behind the scenery. It becomes the scenery. It drifts slowly, swaying in time with the kelp, moving so gently that you cannot tell whether it is moving at all, because real movement would betray the illusion. It has in effect opted out of being seen. It survives by being the citizen nobody notices. And here is the message I want to leave you with at the very end of this whole journey through the city. Because the Leafy sea dragon teaches something the bosses and patrols and giants never could. In the ocean city, survival is not always about power. We have met so many powerful citizens. The grouper boss controlling his block, the Barracuda patrol flashing down the lanes, the Mantis shrimp with its absurd firepower, the sperm whale, giant of the deep. Power, power, power. And it is easy to come away from a video like this thinking that the city belongs to the strong, that survival is a matter of being the most dangerous thing in the room. But the Leafy sea dragon has no power at all. No speed, no armor, no venom, no weapons, no territory it controls. It is one of the most fragile, defenseless animals in the entire city. And it survives, beautifully, by being the one citizen nobody notices. That is a profound thing if you sit with it. Some of the best citizens of any city, the ones who get by, who endure, who find their place and hold it, are not the powerful ones. They are the quiet ones, the unnoticed ones, the ones who do not dominate or control or threaten, who simply find a way to exist, gently, in the background, asking nothing, taking little, drawing no attention. The Leafy sea dragon does not fight for its place in the city. It does not control a corner or patrol a lane or sit in a doorway. It just drifts, beautiful and unseen, through its patch of seaweed, surviving by the simple, radical strategy of being overlooked. And I find something genuinely moving in that, as the final note of this video. Because we spend so much of our attention on the powerful, the dramatic, the loud, the dangerous. We build whole videos around the bosses and the predators and the giants. And the ocean city quietly reminds us through this one fragile, beautiful drifting citizen that there is another way to belong to a place. Not through power, not through control, just through finding a way to be. Quietly, in the background, part of the scenery, part of the city, unnoticed and unbothered, and somehow enduring. The leafy sea dragon is the citizen who proves that you do not have to be the strongest resident to be one of the city's quiet successes. You just have to find your place and hold it gently where no one is looking. So that is the ocean city. A real civilization hidden under the waves, full of workers and bosses, builders and burglars, patrols and alarms and giants and tenants, and the unnoticed citizens drifting in the scenery. It has been there the whole time, this whole functioning society, with its jobs and its roles and its hidden order, completely indifferent to the fact that we never realized it was a city at all. And now, I hope, you cannot unsee it. The next time you look at a reef, you will not see decoration. You will see a city. And you will know that every citizen in it, from the loudest boss to the quietest drifting dragon, is doing a job, playing a role, belonging to a civilization far older and far stranger than our own. Thank you for walking the whole city with me, all 15 citizens, all the way to the end. Tell me, in the comments, which resident was your favorite? The powerful ones, or the quiet ones, nobody notices. I read every single one, and the quiet citizens, the overlooked ones, are honestly the ones I love hearing about most. If this changed how you see the ocean, subscribe, and I will keep introducing you to the citizens of this hidden world. The city was always there. We just never knew to look. I will see you in the next one.